Let's go. Welcome to Sports Tonight. I'm Scott Pennyman here with the great Emily Gagnon.
Yep.
Emily, ready to get started?
Yeah.
I'm ready.
I wanted you to start off the show tonight. That was quite the way to kick it off, Scott.
Hey, let's
Thank
go.
you.
Let's dive right into some.
I appreciate it. We're talking about play-in tournament, right? To get things started.
Play-in tournament. Got the Hawks tonight in Miami to take on the Miami Heat. Game one of the play-in tournament. What direction? Basically, I see it as this. I basically see it as the Atlanta Hawks earning the right to either A, get their asses kicked by the Bucks, or B, get their asses kicked by the Celtics.
Okay. I mean, all right. Let's start off with tonight. You're looking way ahead. You're assuming that they're going to actually play themselves into the first round of the playoffs, and I am not going to make that assumption on my end. I definitely think, I said it yesterday, I definitely think they're losing in Miami tonight for a few reasons.
Yeah.
But number one, Fred Campagna said it last night, it's a late crowd in Miami, but I don't care if it's a late crowd because when the crowd does get there, it's going to be loud. It's going to be rowdy.
For
and
sure.
I understand that NBA basketball environments don't matter as much as they do in college ball, but let's be honest. I think it's going to be a great environment to play in tonight for the Heat, not for the Hawks. The Hawks have lost 2 in a row entering this game. They're 5-5 in their last 10 games. They're a mediocre 41-41. They've lived at 500 all season.
True.
I can't say it enough. These guys cannot help themselves. They just can't. They don't know how to go on a run. They don't know how to win more than 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games at once. So right now, as we sit here talking about the postseason, not the playoffs, because we're not there yet, I don't even know if they'll be able to play themselves into the playoffs because all season, all we've seen from them is mediocre. And I don't think we're going to see a different team tonight or even on Friday night when they have to come back here to play either the Bulls or the Raptors, who play tomorrow in the other play-in game in the Eastern Conference, Scott. So I'm kind of stuck on, are we even going to watch them play in the playoffs in that first round where, yes, they will absolutely lose against either the Bucks or the Celtics. And Trae Young he just cannot get his stuff together against Miami. Miami has figured him out. It's the blueprint. If you want to beat the Hawks and you want to beat Trae Young, just call the Heat and ask him what they do, because they've done a really good job defensively at stopping him. I mean, he no longer he's not a shooter anymore. Once he plays the Heat just completely suffocate him.
So just to be clear, you're really high on the Heat tonight, right?
I'm high on the Heat tonight. Yes.
You feel really.
I don't know what even if let's just say the Heat. Okay, so the Heat get in tonight with the 7th seed, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how far the Heat can go in the playoffs, but I do believe that they can beat the Hawks. They beat them 3 out of 4 times this season. Last year in the first round of the playoffs. And, I don't really like going into last year and the season before that and the season before that because it doesn't matter anymore. They're different teams, different years, different narratives. But let's be honest, in that first round last year, the Heat lost only 1 game to the Hawks. And the Hawks looked awful. And they're not much better defensively this year. They're just not. That is not their forte. They're good on offense, not good on defense. And you want to know what the Heat is good at? Defense. And defense wins games, not just in football, Scott.
You sound like a person that has absolutely no confidence whatsoever.
None.
That the Hawks will find a way
I hope
to
they
win
do, though.
tonight.
I hope they do, Scott, because if they win, if the Hawks do me a solid and win tonight, I have Friday night off. So you know what? I am really.
That's the rally cry for the team. Give Emily Friday night off.
That's right. But I fully expect to be at State Farm Arena on Friday watching them play the Raptors or the Bulls. I mean, that's the week's plan. But if they surprise me tonight, I will be so happy. But like you mentioned in that first round of the playoffs, getting past the Celtics or getting past the Bucks. I mean, it's not going to happen, right? It's just not going to happen.
See, I come out a little different. No, I don't come out different on that. I definitely think they're going to lose tonight, just because, like you said, bad matchup. The Miami Heat seems to pose a lot of problems for them on both ends of the floor. So yes, I do think they'll lose tonight, but I do think they'll beat either the Raptors or the Bulls. I do think they'll win that game at home. So I think they will get into the playoffs, and they'll probably have the Bucks in the first round. Now, just listen, just hear me out here.
I'm hearing.
The Bucks.
I'm hearing you out.
the Bucks might be without their second best player, Chris
That is
Middleton.
true. No, that's true.
He had surgery this week. They're hoping he comes back for the start of the playoffs, but they don't really know. So he's been kind of shaky the whole season.
So what you're saying is there's a chance.
So
That's what
I'm
hearing.
saying, I'm not saying that they would beat the Bucks, because no, I absolutely don't think they're going to beat the Bucks. Let me be clear. No, I do not think the Hawks will beat either the Bucks or the Celtics,
Or
if
any
they
other
do,
team.
or the Sixers, or probably not the Cavaliers either. Any of the top 4 teams in the Eastern Conference, I don't think the Hawks would beat either one of them
with you on
teams
that.
in
I'm
the
with you.
7-game series. Let me be clear.
Yeah.
However, I think if you're just looking for that glimmer of hope, if you're just looking for a possible light at the end of a tunnel, Chris Middleton might not be back for the Bucks, so I guess that gives you some chance, right?
So there's like a lighter, somebody holding a lighter at the end of the tunnel. That's the light.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Giannis could probably beat them all by himself, honestly. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, I don't think they're going to win the series. I don't think they're going to have a chance to even probably win 2 games of the series. But if you're looking for some kind of hope and optimism, which is what we're trying to give here.
No, that's what you're trying to give. I'm not giving anything. I am not. Trae Young, okay, during that first round of the playoffs last year, literally averaged 15 points in 5 games. And that is not who he is. And this year, in those 4 games that the Heat and Hawks played against each other, he averaged 19 points, which is a little bit better than the 15, but that's not his season average. His season average is 26, and those 7 points can make the difference in any game.
That's true. I mean, like you said.
But DeJounte Murray, right?
DeJounte
Murray, make your money. Like, they brought you in, let's do it tonight. I want to see you take over. How about that? Since Trae's going to be double, triple, quadruple teamed, let's give it to DJ. See what DJ could do.
That's true. I mean, that trade has kind of been a dud so far, right? I mean, I'm not saying that DeJounte's.
I like the guy.
Yeah,
I think he's a complete leader compared to like what we've seen from other people.
He is. It just the impact of the trade's kind of been a dud, right? I mean, just when you're a team who 2 years ago made the conference finals, last season lost in the first round, you have all-star player like Trae Young, you have other good players like Clint Capella, John Collins. You would think adding an all-star caliber player to the mix like DeJounte Murray, you'd be able to take that next step, and they just haven't. So I don't know if is he just not. Because
I still think they're trying to figure things out, though, Scott. Like, I think that him and Trae, and this is not something that's been said, verbalized, nothing, but I still think that neither of them want to step on each other's feet, and they just haven't fully figured it out. And it takes time. I think it takes more than 1 season.
Yeah, and we've kind of seen that around the league, too, right? We kind of saw that with Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. I mean, just because you take 2 really good players, put them in the same uniform, it doesn't necessarily mean that things are going to come together. Like, this isn't a video game. You have egos. You have different styles of play that kind of go into the equation. So, yeah, I mean, it may not always come together, just mesh together just like that on the fly. So it's been one full season, though. I mean, they've had 82 games to sort of figure things out. You would think that they would have figured something out by now, or just, so maybe, I don't know, maybe they just don't, maybe their games just don't blend in well together. I don't know, but I mean, hopefully they can figure something out and get out this.
Surprise us all tonight.
Yeah, surprise
me, Hawks. Come on. My Friday night's depending on you. I need you to go to work tonight against the Heat. I really do.
So we'll see what happens there. Want to move on to the second playing game now, right? So we got the Timberwolves going to the red-hot Lakers, right? I mean, that's the Lakers have kind of been – look, the Lakers have kind of been a lot of people's pick to sort of maybe even emerge from the Western Conference, even though they're in the play-in tournament, just for the simple fact they've played so well since making that midseason trade. I mean, and I don't rule it out. I mean, when you look at the Lakers, when Anthony Davis is healthy –
I was going to say, we need to see some healthy Lakers.
Yeah. I mean, look, they're – obviously, LeBron James, 38 years old, and Anthony Davis, he seems to break something every year or get hurt every year doing something. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's the difference. That's the total difference. I think LeBron James being there is cool, but Anthony Davis, what are you saying, that LeBron is not a difference maker anymore? That's cool, you said. Well, so I'm not going to say it as far like Anthony Davis is the horse and LeBron is the jockey in that relationship. No, I mean, I'm not saying it's that far. I'm just saying that if the Lakers are going to get to where they need to be, which is, obviously when you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis on the same team, it's championship or bust, right? And I think in order for that to happen, I think Anthony Davis has to be the horse. I think he's got to lead them where they need to go and just let LeBron James kind of guide things and kind of just be the facilitator of everything. I think if that's the formula, I think if you have Anthony Davis playing like he did 2020 when they won the championship, I think the Lakers very well could beat anybody in the Western Conference. But that's a big if, right?
I mean, listen, yes, I do agree with you. That is a humongous if. The Timberwolves didn't help themselves, though, having two guys out, one for punching a wall and the other one for punching a teammate. So, I mean, they've got some anger issues going on over there, and I don't know. I mean, like I said yesterday, I think they need more than just like a practice. They need like somebody to come in and have a talking session, right? Let's work things out. Let's be a nice on the playground type conversation, because it is. It's not good right now.
So you got 2 punches thrown in that game the other day and 2 guys gone, right, for tonight, because Rudy threw a punch and he got suspended, and the other guy threw a punch and broke his hand, right?
And I'm looking right now, Scott.
Jalen McDaniels.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But Rudy Gobert, he, obviously he's a rebounder, and he's there to get rebounds. And the Lakers are 6th best in boards, right? So you take a look at like the Timberwolves, they're 23rd or 24th in the league. So just based off of that alone, you got a dude who's already out who can't help you. And I mean, listen, sometimes games come down to the simple facts. And I just look at that one stat where the Lakers can really rebound the ball and the Timberwolves can't, and then you just add on the fact that Gobert won't be there. It's just, I don't know, man. I'm thinking the Lakers got that game.
I just love how you started it. One guy's out for punching a wall, one other guy's out for punching a teammate.
The anger management issues are going on with the Timberwolves. Guys, it can't be that bad. It can't be that bad.
The Timberwolves, and I say this because I grew up a Cleveland Browns fan, the Minnesota Timberwolves are the Cleveland Browns of the NBA. Like, really, it doesn't matter who wears that uniform.
Orlando Magic.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I mean, the
See,
Magic,
you really have to think about
the
that
Magic have been really bad too, but it just seemed like the reason why I say the Timberwolves is because they've had some really good players over the years. I mean, when you look at Kevin Garnett, and they wasted 12 years of his career.
Oh, poor
They've
guy.
had
He got his championship.
Karl-Anthony Towns was a number 1 overall pick.
With the Celtics.
Yeah, like Karl-Anthony Towns, he was number 1 overall pick. And
what about our man from here, Anthony Edwards?
Exactly. He looks
telling me my Georgia guy is wasting his time too?
Anthony, he's a really good player, right? But it just seems like when you're with the Timberwolves, when you put that uniform on, you know you're a loser, and you're gonna play like it, right?
The Orlando Magic are my team, and that's how I feel for everybody who's worn a Magic uniform. And I also think there's been some great guys who've played there. I mean, Tracy McGrady was a baller, I thought.
Oh yeah, T-Mac.
And like I can't hate on Mike Miller. Like he wasn't like the man, but he went to UF and then he played at the Magic. And do you remember Daryl Armstrong with the glasses?
I remember Daryl Armstrong. I used to cry after games when they were losing stuff. He was a really emotional dude. Yeah, I remember Daryl Armstrong.
I mean, like we're going way back. I'm kind of like showing my age right now, but I'm just saying that like they've had some great players come through there, and what's the best that they've done? I think they played the Lakers.
But just think of the Timberwolves,
Dwight Howard was there.
The Timberwolves have had some Hall of Fame players. They had Kevin Garnett. Then they got Kevin Love.
Mentioning.
They Kevin Love.
Okay.
Who was like he's going to Hall of Fame one day probably. And just think, I mean, Anthony Edwards is one of the great young players in basketball right now.
Really
Karl-Anthony Towns is he's not that young anymore, but he's been in the league about 7 or 8 years. He's a really, really good player, and they just still stink.
All right, I'm gonna give it to you.
It just doesn't matter.
Well, yes. Like, I was still on they're the Browns of the NBA.
Yeah, like I say, no matter who they draft, no matter who they put in that uniform, as soon as you put that Timberwolves uniform on,
you're failing already.
You know you're a loser. You know you're a failure, and that's
but you're a rich one. So be a rich loser.
Well, you're rich,
it's
man,
okay.
But it just doesn't matter, man. So no, I guess to sum that up, I have 0% confidence that the Timberwolves will beat the Lakers tonight. There is no chance. There's no chance in hell that they win tonight. None.
So
not
we're
happening.
Going with the Lakers and the Heat.
Yeah.
For the 2 games tonight.
Yeah, they're gonna wrap this up. Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So and we're in agreement on this one.
Absolutely. Yeah. We agree on that. Yeah.
So we're both working Friday night.
Yeah, of course. And that's okay. Well, I'm working anyway, so it don't matter. That's all good.
See, this is why you're not as vested as I am. If the Hawks pull one off for me tonight, I will be just so thrilled. I'll be.
Look, that can happen. I mean, not to go back to the Hawks a whole lot, but yes, that could happen, right? Because the Hawks are one of those teams. They have the talent and ability.
You just never know with them.
Yeah, you don't know, right?
Yeah. But since they've lost 2 in a row, it's time to get a win, guys. Yeah. It's time.
But we know about the Timberwolves, and they're gonna lose. Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. But me and Scott's predictions for tonight are the same.
Well, let's jump from one loser to another.
Oh gosh.
The Falcons.
Yeah. I'm going to let you talk on this one. You want to know why? Because no matter who they pick up, in my opinion, they are the Falcons. I've been here for 7 years now, and I can't even lie to you. My first week on the job is when they lost in the Super Bowl in Houston against the Patriots, okay? So that's right. I got introduced to the Falcons on the back end of the greatness, and I've not seen it since.
Yeah.
So you take away what they did today, because I mean.
Well, look, so they traded for former top 3.
It sounds good, right?
Former top 3 pick Jeff Okudah, right? A guy I'm pretty familiar with coming up as an Ohio State Buckeyes fan. See, look, hey, Jeff Okudah, I mean, if you want to look at the word, just take out your Wikipedia bust right now as far as first round picks.
You say bust?
Bust.
Come on.
You'll find Jeff Okudah right there.
Oh,
look, Jeff Okudah, he was a top 3 draft pick. He was a top 3 pick of the Lions just a couple years ago, and it's been a disaster since he got there.
But he's been injured a little bit, right?
He's had some injuries.
Okay.
If you remember that
I give you a pass on injuries, but keep going.
Yeah, I mean, you give him kind of a pass. I think his first 2 seasons, he only played like 10 games, and then last year he played 15 games, I think.
And did better.
Did a little better. He's only got 2 interceptions in like 3 years. So, I mean, he hasn't been anywhere near the kind of player that you would expect from a top 3 draft pick point of view. I mean, just a cornerback, right? So I think we understand
They're
that.
unicorns.
Yeah. So I think when you know.
You know this already.
And just kind of when you look at him, but look, there's been guys like him before who maybe, look, we just talked about teams that were losers, right? I mean, just teams that no matter what, the Detroit Lions, I mean, they haven't been a model franchise
I kind of
either.
like them to start the season, though. It was looking good for a minute, and I love me some DeAndre Swift, former dog.
Yeah,
love him.
That's another one of those teams that is just kind of known losers. So maybe just getting the stink of that environment out of his nose, out of
and then he's gonna breathe new stink in Flowery Branch.
Well, look, the Falcons haven't always been failures, right? I mean, this is a team that was in the Super Bowl some years back, and they've had some winning seasons. So I think the Falcons are at least a competent organization, unlike the Detroit Lions, which are a very incompetent organization. So I think Okudah I think what he needs is a fresh start.
Okay.
So he'll get that coming here.
All right.
And he'll get a breath of fresh air. I don't think there's much of a comparison between the cities of Atlanta and Detroit.
And we love AJ Terrell.
Yeah, so he gets to be on the other side. And that, too, is a great point that you bring that up. AJ Terrell's the number 1 corner. So now Okudah can be number 2. He can probably slide into a position that's a little more comfortable for him and his skill level. And I think maybe, look, it's a flyer. They didn't give up they gave up a 5th-round pick. That's nothing.
I know. No, yes, you would think that the Falcons in this one are winners.
Right. I mean,
yes.
So I think if you can give up a 5th-round pick on a player that was drafted in the top 3 just a few years ago, despite how much of a disappointment he's been, I think that's a win. So from that perspective, I think that's a good move for the Falcons.
I might think, though, that the corner position is the hardest position to play.
Oh, it is.
College, NFL, Pee Wee, whatever. I think that you are the unicorn of the entire team, because good corners just don't exist. Let's be honest. They just don't. There's very few.
They made the rules harder for them to exist, too, as far as.
But listen, your number 1 job is to cover as a corner.
True.
And, I hate to bring up Keely Ringo. But it's like
he was out there fighting for his life against Marvin Harrison, wasn't he?
I just think to myself, this is a perfect example of how hard it is to be a good unicorn corner. You don't exist because again, your sole purpose in life is to cover.
It is.
Keely Ringo missed a lot of coverage.
She did. Look, I mean, that's a hard position to play. I mean, when you think about it, you're on an island. I mean, game in and game out. If you're playing 100%. Man coverage, if you're a cornerback, that's what the very best cornerbacks in the league, you get to be elite by being able to cover a guy man-to-man, not zone, right? So if you're good enough to be able to be on an island against a receiver, I mean, there's a reason why cornerbacks are paid like they're paid. I methat's one of the most important positions, especially in a throwing league like the NFL has become. Teams are throwing the ball 45 to 50 times a game. You need as many good corners as you can, and so it's a tough position. So I will give Okudah the benefit of the doubt there. He came into the league as a tough position, and really, it's really hard to justify being drafted number 3 overall as a cornerback anyway, right? I mean, that's tough. You don't see. He's got to be one of the highest drafted cornerbacks ever at number 3 overall. So he was in a tough position, and he was going to the Detroit Lions, which they stink every year anyway. So, I think that was a really hard situation for him to go into and have success. So I think that this is a much better landing spot for him now. He can kind of just start his career all over again here, you know?
Well, I mean, I hope so. Listen, I'm pulling for the Falcons in a way that they've made so many moves this offseason. I was hoping they would, do something at quarterback. And no disrespect, Desmond Ridder. I just haven't seen enough, and I don't believe that he is the quarterback of the future. But you know what? Ridder, if you come out there and you ball out this season, I'll swallow my words real fast.
Right, and if he doesn't, everybody's fired. So that's kind of how the season's going to go, right? If either he's going to make you swallow your words, or the whole front office and coaching staff is going to be fired. So it is what it is.
They'll give them more. They'll have another year after this one. Arthur Smith will get another year after this one.
You serious?
You're jumping way too high on that. Yes, this is too early still.
So when was the last time you seen a team have 3 consecutive seasons where they missed the playoffs and everyone keeps their job?
Well, let's see how.
I don't think it happens too often.
Yeah, but it's a rebuilding mode right now. They destroyed everything. They blew it up. They blew up the house, and now they have to rebuild it brick by brick.
Man, I mean,
do I think that Desmond Ridder is going to be your foundation of that brick house? I mean, that's what they're saying.
I'm just saying.
That's what I think.
I'm just saying, in the NFL, it's really hard to keep everything. I know.
I agree, but I just think it's too early. I think they'll get another year after this year.
Woo!
That's just my opinion. I don't see them I don't see them making fires yet. Not at the end of the year.
I know they say 5-year plan, man, but those 5-year plans in the NFL almost
those
never
don't
work out.
exist, but I would say 4 is a healthy 4 years. Yes.
I'll meet you halfway. If they start off
3.5?
next year 0-4, 0-5, everybody fired.
Halfway through.
Everybody's fired. Well,
all right, I'll buy that.
Okay, cool. Well, let's leave a couple losers. Let's go to a winner now, the Braves. I guess that's kind of some tough news, right, with Ian Anderson, right?
Yeah, you hate to hear the fact
Tommy
that
John.
Tommy John surgery. But listen, I guess, no, this is not news you want to hear. Great dude, all the things. But he didn't start the season on Braves roster.
Yeah.
He was at the Stripers. So, yes, eventually further on down this season when they would have needed to bring him up, he will not be available, which is the bad part of it. But right now, it's a loss, yes.
Yeah, I can't really think offhand,
It's a huge loss. But because he didn't start this season on their actual roster, opening day roster, hasn't, I just wonder, at what point were they just gonna bring him up for injury purposes? Was he actually ever really gonna be in their main rotation?
Right. Or were they really depending on him, right? Yeah.
Right. So that's hard for me. But, last year he got 10 wins, and he was a big part of that team last year. I mean,
Seemed like he was trending up, though, right? I mean, at least I thought he was, when you kind of look at his career so far.
And honestly, the Braves rotation right now, it's rough because of injuries, right? But Kyle Wright's coming back, so that to me is a major win. So you've got a loss with Ian Anderson, but a major win with Kyle Wright. I said it yesterday, and I'll say it a million times, and I'll say it till my face is blue, because people don't realize this. He had 21 wins last season, the winningest pitcher in the entire league.
That's a lot.
Nobody even knows who the guy is. I want to
true.
say that his contract was for $750,000.
That's a good
and
bargain.
He's out there balling out. I mean, to me, that's insane.
That's a good bargain, right, man? $750,000 for 21 wins?
I definitely feel like he's getting paid less than $1 million.
Wouldn't everybody love to do that? So look, their rotation here in the early season, a little bit of trouble, right?
Banged up, yes, for sure. And they're playing rookies, and you hate to see it for those rookies. I mean, you eventually have to go out on the bump and do what you do, but you hate to be out there. Basically, I would imagine, they're kind of shaking in their boots while they're out there.
Well, I think the great part about it is it seems like they can swing the bats really well, right?
Yes,
so,
offensively.
That's kind of what's going to have to carry them, at least in the early part of the season, while some of these injuries hopefully get healed up by midseason or later. Look, if you're going to have injuries, well, not to Tommy John, because with Tommy John, Anderson's going to be out for the year, or maybe even more.
That's right.
That's a surgery that keeps some guys out a couple years maybe. But I think, as far as the other injuries, as far as,
Max Fried. It's a hammy.
Yeah, but you kind of it's
He's, like I said this yesterday, Scott. He could still throw. Like he's got
right.
his arms, like hand. None of that's injured.
Right.
It's not upper. It's lower. So he can't run right now. That's the problem.
Exactly. And if you're going to have those kind of injuries, like I was saying last week, if you're going to have those injuries, you'd rather have them in April than have them in
Now.
September, right?
Absolutely.
So now they can get through the season, they can get those guys healed where they need to be, and then by the time it's winning time, by the time we get to September, because I think they're going to be in it. I mean, make no mistake about it.
Oh,
Just because
for
they've had these
sure.
injuries doesn't mean that they're going to drop too far. They're going to be in it because they can hit the ball and they have good enough pitching to get them over. So, yeah.
I don't know. They might bring in somebody. Honestly, like they might be. I've got to believe Alex Anthopoulos is out there looking.
Yeah, for sure.
Just like kind of like looking around the league, just seeing what's out there because this can't be a good. I know it's early and there's nothing to worry about if you're a
Right.
Braves fan. And manager Brian Snicker has said as much that he's not worried. It's early, whatever. More precautionary than anything. But you know, as like a GM, and you're like, well, what if this happens later in the year and we don't have people? So I've got to believe that Alex is looking around.
So let's move on from Braves because I think we think the Braves are going to be fine, so we can move on from them and we can get down to what's on your mind. What's on your mind, Emily?
Well, this is like super hyper local
Uh-oh.
to Atlanta. Well, no, I mean like Brad Guzan is out, right? He's Atlanta United's goalie,
Yeah.
and
Again.
he's out for 10 to 12 weeks, torn MCL. He is a huge part of that club.
Yes.
Like, there's very few guys that are as good as he is. And he had already, injured himself last season and was out most of the season. And you saw how not well the team did without him. I'm not saying he's the end-all, be-all, but what I am saying is he's a huge part of Atlanta United's club and a huge part of them winning. And they started the season so hot.
Yeah.
I've thought several times, like, this is the squad of the past, like circa 2018 when they won the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right? So, and I know, like, you got used to Atlanta United not being able to score
Right, man.
from last season. And this
Yeah.
season, they've picked it up a little bit,
They have.
right? So now you see that he's out, and he is, like, a leader on that team through and through. Last year, even though he couldn't play, he would still come in and, like, mentor the guys and be around and try to help them out by talking to them and all the things. So I guess he'll have to do that again. But 10 to 12 weeks, Scott, that determines a lot. That's a big chunk of your season.
Guys getting old too, right, man? I mean, I think when you start
for
climbing
sure.
that ladder, the injuries start stacking up. I mean, he had the ACL last year, was it? And then
Or was it an Achilles? I don't
Achilles,
remember.
yeah, maybe,
I don't
I
remember.
think it was Achilles, yeah, but he missed the rest of the year last year, and then to be hurt again this year with another long-term injury, I think you start thinking, the older you're getting out at this point, you start wondering, is this kind of the way your career is going to end up? So that's the first thing I saw when he went down. I said, oh man, not again, because he seemed like a really good dude. Talked to him
Great
a couple
dude.
times, and he seems like a guy who really wants to be out there. So let's get to what's on my mind now. We'll wish Brad
do it.
Guzan well, and hopefully he gets back. So Emily, NFL draft, just real quick, want to get your thoughts because I have my thoughts. Number one
okay.
overall pick, because I saw these things sort of flop today. I know you obviously covered the SEC and everything. Who are you taking with the number one overall pick? You taking Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud?
Oh, get out of here, Scott. You already know the answer to that. Oh, you want me to say it?
Yeah.
Bryce Young.
Bryce Young for
Which,
sure?
by the way, I'm allowed to say it now because I'm a Heisman Trophy voter, and you're not allowed to say ahead of time who you voted for. I still voted for Bryce Young as the number one guy this year. I thought he was the best quarterback, the best player in the league this year.
Okay, I'm actually with you. I thought you were going to say C.J. Stroud actually because he was taller, but whatever.
No.
I thought you were going with him.
Absolutely
Hey,
not.
Well, we got to wrap this up. Hey, Emily, it's been really fun.
What was on your mind though? You didn't.
That's
you
what was
didn't
on.
actually-
What was on my mind was to ask you what's on your mind. I'm taking Bryce Young too, so I'm with you. I was just wondering, and I asked you because I know you've made a big deal before about Bryce's height. That's what I was wondering.
Oh my gosh, guys, yes. And to be clear, I'm being wrapped right now. 2 years ago, I'm going to tell you, I was on the field with Bryce Young when Alabama played Georgia and Georgia played Alabama, and he is not taller than me.
That's true.
So that
we gotta
freaked
get
me
here.
out. Bye.
We got to get her.